Hey, my name's Jim. I'm with CGC Sports Illustrated. This is a special unboxing video because I got a co-host. I want you to meet Greg. Greg is a big sports collector and has gotten into graded magazines in the last couple of years or so. And he and I work on a lot of different things. Greg sends me a lot of issues. I press them for Greg, and then I submit them under my CGC dealer account. So, Greg, thanks for coming on and doing this unboxing video because these are your slabs.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. We've been talking about it for a long time. So, I mean, this goes back close to probably a year ago when we started trying to put this together.
Yeah, this is a good box. These are big dog issues. These are all really, really big issues. So, Greg, while I'm getting this box open, why don't you just kind of explain a little bit about how you got into sports collecting and how you got into Sports Illustrated?
Yeah, no problem. I've been a collector of autographs for probably 20 plus years, actually since the late 90s. So 20, 25 years. And I used to do spring training with a group of guys, and we'd do baseballs and 8x10s. And then I finally got into magazines a little bit if you had somebody on a whole bunch of different items. And I just liked the way the magazines looked signed and the flat signed. They were easier to display than baseballs. So kind of got me into collecting that way as far as autographs. It wasn't until recently, the last couple of years, I got into the grading of magazines.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I think you've taken a journey that a lot of autograph collectors have taken. I think, like I said, a lot of guys start off with 8x10s and balls and bats and that sort of stuff. But for 20 or 30 years now, there's been a huge community of people that use Sports Illustrated as that autograph medium because it just displays so well and has such a better visual look to it than maybe a ball or something like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And they age better. Our baseballs kind of get some toning, or the autograph fades more. So they age a lot better.
Good point. Okay. Let's get started. We've got, I think there's about 10 slabs here. Like I said, some really, really big issues. So Greg and I are seeing these for the first time.
Oh.
Okay. This is, okay, so I love this issue. 8.5, you can see there. Oh, other way. This is John Smoltz, first Sports Illustrated cover. This is from October 26, 1992. It is the only Sports Illustrated that was ever produced in landscape mode or horizontally like this, as opposed to all the other issues being produced that way. Good grade there, Greg.
Well, what I call this group is a Hall of Fame first covers. Basically, what I was trying to do is put together a group of either players that are in the Hall of Fame or, guys like LeBron that are headed to the Hall of Fame. So, I mean, Smoltz is already in, so I'm excited about that.
Great start. That was probably the greatest starting five pitching team that existed in history, were those Braves teams back in the 90s. You had Smoltz, Glavine, Maddox, and then you had kind of a cast, rotating cast of characters to fill out the other two, Steve Avery and some other pitchers there. All right, next up. Woo! Okay, you recognize this one. This is Kevin Durant's first Sports Illustrated cover, February 19th, 2007. You can see that there at a nice 9.2. Durant, I love that Durant was the number 2 overall pick and by the Seattle Supersonics. And there's some sports cards out there with him on the Supersonics. I just am a little bit nostalgic for the Sonics, and obviously they went away and became the Oklahoma City Thunder. But good issue here, Greg.
Thank you.
Yeah, this one is so tough, and I've talked about this a lot before. Really condition sensitive because you got so much dark ink on the front. There's plenty of dark ink around the borders in the back, but there is, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's a gatefold issue. Tough to see. There's a black line there that is actually not part of the cover. It's actually page 3. And gatefolds are notorious for having problems with flaws that are impossible to fix. So good one there, Greg.
Thank you.
All right, next up. There's one in here that you and I know that we're both waiting for, that there's an interesting story on. So I cannot, it'll be interesting to see when we get to that one. And we'll have a good story along with that. Next up. Woo! Okay, that's good. Look at that. Barry Sanders, first Sports Illustrated cover. September 10th, 1990. These are good grades. 9.0 on that. And again, similar to the Kevin Durant, really condition sensitive. A lot of dark ink on that front cover there, especially along the spine. And I am a huge Barry Sanders fan. Love watching Barry Sanders play.
Yeah, a lot of people say in the last like 50 years he's the best running back, in that time.
I would say he's certainly the most exciting running back I've ever seen. I mean, he was a good blocker, was a decent receiver, was incredible in being able to make players miss and extend plays on the field, and certainly a Hall of Famer and a guy that retired way too young. Another one of those guys like Calvin Johnson, where just playing all their entire career for a team like the Lions that stank. Ended their career too early. They couldn't take playing for a crappy Lions team anymore. Okay,
crazy to see the Lions doing good now.
I'm happy. I'm believe me, I'm pushing. I'm not a Lions fan necessarily, but I like to see such an awful franchise like that at least have some success finally. Next up. Oh, Greg! Look at that.
Yes, that's nice.
Okay, so I'm really disappointed. So normally I have pop reports on all these sorts of things, but the CGC census has been down for, it's been off and on, but mostly down for almost a week now. And so I wasn't able to pull pops on this, but my recollection is there is no 9.8 in existence of this issue. 9.6 is the highest. And I think there's maybe only like 3, 4, 5, maybe.
Yeah, that's good to hear.
This is a huge win, Greg. This is Ken Griffey Jr.'s first cover from May 7th, 1990. Such a great issue. Man, I'm bummed that we don't have those pop reports because now I want to see it. I'm going to have, as soon as they come back online, I'm going to have to dig into this because this is, that 9.6 on this issue is huge. Super difficult, and this is why, the back. All that dark ink on the back just shows those flaws and makes it very, very difficult. This is the winner of the box so far, Greg. Congratulations on that one. That is awesome. 9.6.
Thank you.
Sweetest swinging baseball. All right. Let's see what's next. Oh, there it is.
That is sweet right there.
Try and get this in here so that everybody can see. Okay, so this is the one we've been waiting for that I mentioned earlier. So this is Magic Johnson's first cover, November 27th, 1978. Really difficult to find in newsstand. There just aren't a whole lot of copies out there in newsstand. But here's the story on this one. This was a Kraken press. And so if you don't know what I'm talking about Kraken press, I've done videos on this before. I've done unboxing videos where I've done it and shown it. I've talked about how risky it is, especially with CGC's inconsistent grading that they're doing right now. But it's essentially you take an existing slabbed issue, you examine it and determine that, you know what, I can press this issue and improve it and resubmit it to CGC and hopefully get a bigger grade. Now, that doesn't always happen. In fact, there are horror stories out there about grades going down after that process. And again, that goes back to CGC's inconsistent grading. But here's the awesome thing on this, and I saved it. This is the original slab label from that issue. So you and I took a 5.0 Magic Johnson first cover, cracked, pressed, and turned it into an 8.0.
Yeah, that's amazing. The guy, we kind of reached out and was looking for people to jump in this with us and say, hey, anybody want to sell anything? And this guy reached out to me about that. He said, hey, it's a 5.0, but I think it can maybe go up. And we gave it a shot. It shows what your pressing service can do.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll say, and I've said this a lot, pressing, a good kind of baseline of expectation is pressing will give you a one bump in the grade tier. So if you've got an 8.0 or an issue that looks like an 8.0 and you press it, you hope to be able to get at least a 0.5 jump out of that. A 3-point jump, that is the biggest jump I've ever had in any issue I've ever pressed. I've done 2-point jumps before. I think that's probably the highest. I think I took a 7.0 to a 9.0 once. I took a 9.0 to a 9.8 once. But 3 points from a 5.0 to an 8.0, and especially on such a monster issue like this, that's huge, man. Congratulations. That's the winner of the box. It's going to be almost impossible to beat that one.
Well, like I said, you can say, "Hey, my pressing does this," or I can say it, but right there, the proof's in the pudding, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
3-point bump, and that's still a risky strategy. Again, because CGC's grading is so inconsistent. I've done a lot of crack and presses where the grades come back the same. Fortunately, I don't think I've ever had any of mine personally that have gone down. But it happens, absolutely happens, and it's so it's a little bit of a risky strategy. But when it pays off, and that one's fun. All right, let's see what's next. Oh man, Greg, you're crushing it with this box, my man.
That's great.
9-6 Derek Jeter. Now, again, I really wish I had the pop counts on this one. Now, there are a couple of 9-8s, but I think there's only a couple, maybe 3. Again, really condition sensitive issue, and we'll talk about why, and maybe we can see it better this time. This is a gatefold issue. That black strip is not part of the cover. It's page 3. It opens out into kind of this trifold thing, but when you have these gatefolds, it essentially gives you another seam on the cover. It's kind of like a second spine, and it gives just a ton of opportunities for flaws and ink to flake off and all that sort of stuff that can't be fixed. Derek Jeter, first cover, 9.6. That is a monster grade. Love seeing that, my man. October 21st, 1996. All right, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 left here. It's gonna be tough to beat this box. I'm thrilled for you. This box is incredible. All right, next up. Okay. Well, this guy's certainly topical right now.
That's a tough grade. I mean, you don't see a lot of high grades in this magazine, I don't think.
You don't. This is Bryce Harper's first Sports Illustrated cover. Came out on June 8th, 2009. Couple of things. You don't see a lot of this copy anywhere. Because this is a 1 of 2 regional variant. And they did break out the variant, which is awesome. It's right there. Detroit Red Wings were on the other cover that week. So this one didn't have nearly the distribution of your standard cover. So it's a tougher one to find and a lot tougher to have in a 9-8. There are no 9-8s. I think there are 2 or 3 9-6s. And that's it. There are no 9-8s, if I recall correctly, in this issue that exists. So Bryce Harper, first Sports Illustrated cover, 8.5, and as we're in the middle of Major League Baseball playoffs. Okay, next up. Another Bryce Harper. Oh, that's right. I forgot we had 2 Bryce Harpers in this one. Okay, a nice bit better than the last one. An 8.5, and then popping this one to a 9.2.
What's crazy about that issue, he was 16 years old when he was on the cover.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, people forget he dropped out of high school and went straight to the, playing baseball. Like you said, 16 years old. What makes this one so difficult is that dark ink along the back. Tons of flaws. I've pressed a lot of these issues. The vast majority of them all have problems on the back. All right. 2 left. Finish strong. Let's do this. Finish strong. Okay. Here we go. I told you these are all monster issues. I mean, these are all monster first covers of Hall of Famers. Tiger Woods' first cover, 8.0. Again, another one that, just like we talked about that Bryce Harper, I've pressed a million of these. It's that back is where you get all those flaws. That purple ink up in here just seems to want to just fly off.
You know what I learned this week about that cover, Jim? If you look that and the Jeter, they're only a week apart. First cover Jeter, and then I can't remember which one was first, but they're only a week apart. It used to be a weekly issue.
You're right. Absolutely. So the Jeter was on October 21st, 96. This was October 28th, 96.
I mean, they were hitting it out of the park at that time.
That's ridiculous that 2 massive stars in different sports had their first covers 7 days apart on Sports Illustrated. Great catch on that, Greg. I'd never noticed that before. Nice. 8.0 Tiger first cover. Okay, last one. Coming all down to this. Let's see it. Okay. LeBron James, 8.5.
That's the only one I have of him. Not a huge basketball fan. I kind of building a collection with my 15-year-old son. And he kind of course, I do think that's the best cover, the most iconic cover after 2000.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you on that. I think that everything from the look of it, the fact that it's interesting. He's in his high school jersey. He's 18 years old. The headline, The Chosen One, obviously everything that LeBron's done on the court, it is probably the most iconic issue after 2000, and maybe even if you include the 90s, you may be able to sit here and say, hey, since 1990, this, the modern era, this is probably the most iconic issue. Make a good argument for that, for sure.
You'd have to go back to Jordan probably to compare to it.
I think you probably do. Or Tyson. You got to go back to Tyson or Jordan or some of those big stars from the 80s. But I think this eclipses Kobe's first cover. I think it eclipses Tiger's first cover. It's just a big one. It's just absolutely huge. Wow, what a fun unboxing video. Certainly the highlight was the Magic Johnson Kraken press that went from a 5.0 to an 8.0. But the 9.6 Ken Griffey, the 9.6 Derek Jeter, also huge grades. Hope you're happy, Greg. I'd be jumping up and down if these were my issues right now. So
no, I'm very happy,
man.
Extremely happy.
Well, good. Hey, I really appreciate you joining, Greg. This was a ton of fun, and maybe we can do it again sometime.
Sounds good, Jim. I'll definitely.
Okay, cool. Check me out on social media. Like and comment and subscribe here on YouTube. My social media, I'm on every platform. Same username is here, CGC Sports Illustrated. And thanks for watching.